What's going on, everybody? Happy Thursday. I'm BobbyFi here with my man, Eric Sheetshaber. The NBA, it's been a rough week, obviously, for us, but they've been at least kind enough to give us some good DFS slates that have been able to make things a little bit distracting for us. Unfortunately, we weren't able to capitalize yesterday. It was really disappointing. I had a heads-up match for that. It was the package, the sports betting championship package, and because I had tied the guy the night before with, even that was a miracle. He even tweeted me. I'm sorry, I couldn't believe that I held up to tie you the night before. Anyway, that was frustrating. So that was a loss that, you're basically losing 3,800 there. And then I didn't cash in my big stuff because I had played a little too much Jaren Jackson. I made a few too many mistakes and didn't stick with some of the plays that we even liked earlier. But anyway, on to another day. I actually think this is a fun little six gamer. So Sheets, what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I was a little lucky yesterday because I made some money on FanDuel, and I was lucky in as much as far as what tournaments I put particular lineups in. So it turns out, again, I got lucky. I only played like 9 lineups, and it was over 9 different contests or whatever. And it just so happened that the two biggest scores, one was in the 100 windmill, which number 1 was the highest buy-in. Number 2 was the, you know what I mean? It required the least amount of points because it was a single entry. So I got very lucky as far as that goes. So I had a pretty good result in that one. And also there was another one where I did well. So I got lucky in FanDuel that I happened to have put I would love to say that I intentionally put that lineup in that one, but it's just not the case. And Draftkings, I lost a little bit. So I actually kind of escaped kind of alive. And I was happy again with our assessment of the slate. I mean, we knew going in the value was going to be pretty fishy. And we also knew that it wasn't going to take that many points to win. And if you look at the people who won, I mean, there are people that got second place with Harden. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think someone got second place with Harden at 3x. So yeah. Sometimes, when value is fishy, that's usually what ends up happening. So it was I guess frustrating, interesting slate. But let me tell you what I want to tilt about. I don't want to tilt too much because I salvaged this, but we were doing the live stream yesterday, and I logged in first because Bobby was having technical issues. So I logged in, and then he logged in. And then what happened is I had to leave. So I left, and I thought I closed all my windows or whatever, and I just kind of went out to dinner. And then Bobby said, dude, I can't close it on my end. You have to kind of do it on your end. I'm like, okay, I'll just do it when I get home. So I got home, and then I thought that I closed the stream or something. It was a real technical issue. I thought that I closed it. And then about 2.5 hours later, I see I was looking at stuff like BobbyFi is live, and I saw that BobbyFi was live for 4.5 hours. So I was looking, and I guess everything I must have been doing on my computer that night might have been streamed to the live feed. Now I didn't do anything untoward or anything like that. It was just DFS stuff. But believe I did delete the whole file from YouTube late at night. And I did see one guy posted in the live thing. Was like, boy, this is fun. I'm like, so I don't know what he was watching on my computer to think it was fun, but whatever it is, it's gone. But we'll work out those technical issues down the road.
It's a growing thing every day, and we appreciate that we've had to help some people and that people catch on. So good.
All right. So today's slate, I don't know whether every slate to me starts like this. Every slate starts like, boy, I don't know the values any good here, and every play that I like is going to be the one everybody else likes. And then slowly but surely, I kind of find pivots, and I find low-owned guys, and eventually by the end, I kind of get to where I need to go. But I always start out. I've been starting out nowadays, been a little bit like, boy, that's obvious, and through the discussion, kind of come across kind of better plays. Like it's just, for example, we're not going to do FanDuel in this video, but FanDuel, I just kind of built what I thought was a good lineup, and I literally, when I went to ownership projections, it was literally 8 of the 9 highest owned plays, projected plays on the slate. So I'm like, oh, wow, what a surprise. So it'll be a constant battle to see if we can find differentiation and find correlation. But I think it's a nice little 6-game slate with that's not going to require too much nuance. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, okay, let's get into it. Let's pull your screen up and start with.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
No problem.
So you'll see. So my first attempt at just picking players that I liked only put me 10,000 over the cap with 1 slot left to go. So I'm gonna have to probably just take some of these guys out. But in all seriousness, I just threw some guys in that I thought were going to be kind of good plays, and we'll go through them as we go along.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first game, great. Right out of the bat, I love it. Let's just deal with this because I think this is probably, I guess one of the two most important games on the slate to get right. Charlotte against Washington, it's going to be a high total. It's going to be a low enough spread. And you're going to get the 5th consecutive day of a chalk center, right? So on Washington, the two guys that are popping as great plays is going to be our good friend Bradley Beal and our great enemy Thomas Bryant. Now we say our great enemy because, as Bobby reminded me before we started, that he's been kind of like on this, just waiting. Thomas Bryant was injured, kind of easing his way back, just trying to find that spot where you could play him, that no one's going to play him, with that upside before he puts that 32-minute, number up on the board. And unfortunately, I know I didn't play him. So he put 32 minutes up on the board in his last game. So as a result, they moved him up in price a little bit, but 5,200 on DraftKings and even more gross on FanDuel. He's popping as a really good value, presuming that he gets those 28-plus minutes. So we could talk about the probability of that, but as it stands, 28 minutes of Thomas Bryant is going to project to be a really, really tough value. And the other problem with it is the other thing that makes it a good play and a problem to fade is he's also power forward eligible as opposed to some of these centers that you had to put into the center spot. So you could play him along with guys like Embiid, and we'll talk about him later or whatever. But so on the Washington side, just Beal and Bryant, really the only two guys I was interested in. And on Charlotte, I'm interested in Devontae Graham, even though he's can be frustrating. He's to me just such a natural, run back with Beal that it's gonna be hard for me to not play the two of them. I'm anticipating now. Again, I hope Bobby's not listening. I'm anticipating that Bobby's going to try to talk me into Rozier instead of Graham. But that's just my thought. We haven't really talked about this literally at all. But for now, I'm in Graham mode. Graham versus Beal, and I originally didn't have anybody else listed on Charlotte that I was going to play.
You know what? Oddly, I ran into on my first build of DraftKings lineups was that I prefer Graham, but I ended up. The problem is they've made Graham no longer shooting guard eligible, and Rozier is shooting guard eligible now. Yep. So that actually ended up making a big bit of difference for me. As usual, I tend to like a few of the point guards tonight, as you can tell. I love this game. It's going to be a target for me. I actually think in this kind of environment, you sort of throw things out the window, and you see people like Rozier and Graham, and you say, oh, you don't want to play them together. Well, these kind of matchups, you can actually do that. Now, the pricing isn't ideal, obviously, but we've seen Washington look what happened the other night. Like, if you didn't have Bledsoe and Middleton, you were dead.
They play no defense at all.
They really don't. It's really incredible, actually. Charlotte, you may even try and slow the game down a bit, but it's not going to happen. I actually think with the young guys that Charlotte plays, because they play, 3 rookies essentially and a second-year guy, I think we're going to see a lot of – or 2 second-year guys. I think we're going to see a lot of pace in this. And so I'm leaning – the way that I've got it right now, and this is I said it's changed, my number one play from this game is Miles Bridges. I understand anyone who thinks it's skeptical. I'm not saying to play him in cash, although, it's actually not that bad of an idea. He's going to get his minutes back. There was the fluky games where Batum was getting the run because they were in France, the France thing. I think we can scratch that out completely, almost eliminate him entirely. So I love Bridges. I think he's going to get his minutes back. I think there's upside in those 28 minutes. I also really like P.J. Washington. I think P.J. Washington is going to be the low-owned option in this slate. That he has like a game that has slate-breaking ability in it. And he's put up some big games this year where he didn't even shoot the ball well because he can rebound. He can do a lot of different things. He can get those blocks. He can shoot the three. He's a good player, and if he gets hot, I could see him having a big game here. I really wish we had some of these. We weren't going to get any Hernan Gomez minutes, and really, like, it's just going to confuse the hell out of things because other than Zeller, and even Zeller's fine, I really like all of the main Charlotte guys. Even down to Monk as a possible long shot tournament play. I think this is the kind of game you'd want to do that in on a large field GPP. Probably not in a regular field GPP, but in a large field for sure. I'm all over this game. I think that the Bridges thing, I'm willing to take a little bit of a risk, and I sit with it. Like, this is a spot where there was a while earlier this year where it was like, this is what you could expect from him, was to 5.5x with upside. And this is literally the ceiling matchup. So I like Bridges a ton. I think the ownership stays low on him. No one ever.
Well, they moved him up. They moved him up from 4,100, right?
He's 4,700.
No, they moved him up, but he was 41 before.
No.
Okay. Oh, maybe FanDuel. Okay. All right. Gotcha.
Yeah. He's 47 on FanDuel. I like him better on DK than FanDuel, but anyway, I really like that's the priorities for me. Bridges, Graham, Washington, and Rozier, all serious priorities, with the flyers on Monk and maybe 1 or 2 on Zeller. And then on the Washington side, again, like, I'm trying to figure out why people wouldn't just play Bradley Beal, and if maybe just these early projections are always wrong. The guy's put up 50 or more in 4 straight now. There's other good plays that are expensive. So I love Beal today, but at first glance, I was just thinking like, lock, let's go. Now I'm actually open to some other plays. Thomas Bryant, I'm going to be below the field probably. I just think it's like, I've been all over him, and why all of a sudden, they were down a bunch, and maybe he just got the run because they were on a roll back. Then again, that translates into the minutes coming back tonight. It's a tricky one for me, because at chalky ownership, with a lack of value on the slate, it's hard for me to it's still hard for me to justify why I'd want to play him, when I could so easily see this game going away where he doesn't, he just doesn't get the same minutes that he got yet last game. It's a risky one to me, but I also think there's a chance that if he plays up to his ability in a good matchup, like you're not going to be able to win without him. There's that 45 chance that really you might need him. So I've got him. I've got ownership on him. He's my second favorite player from Washington, but he's definitely going to be below the field at the moment for me. That's at least where I'm currently standing. Unless some other things, we really don't get any other value, maybe I'll change my mind. But I like Troy Brown a lot. I think I'll be double the field on him probably. I think that he'll be lower owned. It's not a guy who goes out there and is going to light the world on fire. But I think he's like a solid play that can help you more than a guy who's going to win you a tournament. So, I just want to make sure I have some exposure. And again, just getting extra exposure to this game at what is a fairly reasonable cost for Brown. I don't think I'm going to go the Bertans route, because he has to get so hot for this to work. I think he did against Charlotte earlier this year. I feel like I watched him go just nuts against them for like a quarter.
Was that game? I remember there was a game. I don't remember it was against Charlotte, but there was one game where he made
I thought it was Charlotte, but maybe I could be mistaken.
Like 15 threes, you did something.
Yeah, it was at Charlotte, just like this. Okay. He was 11 for 18 with 8 of 12 from 3-point range, 50 fantasy points. But just for me, it's going to be a pass on him today, probably. You might find somebody late in my lineup later. Weird value opens, and I really hardcore stack this game. But mostly it's just the main 3 I mentioned, and then some Ish Smith shots. But I have a feeling Ish Smith might end up being more popular. And again, I think the minutes are – he's going to get minutes. I don't know how much usage he's going to get. I don't know how much upside I want here. So I don't know how I'm going to end up with him. Right now I have him sort of nearest the field, but nearest the low projection of the field. I think it's going to be higher.
So one that was great, and the one guy I want to go back to that you mentioned, because it's kind of a theme that we talk about a lot, is Malik Monk, and the reason why is, when you have these matchups against Washington, against Atlanta, against these teams that just don't play defense at all, the projections on some of these kind of up-paced players, while their medians might be accurate or whatever, I think that the right tail of their results are just so high in these types of games that you could, I don't want to say ignore, but you could give a little less credence to the medians and just kind of give them a shot, Yeah. So like you have like a Malik Monk who's just going to, if he gets rolling against a team that plays no defense, I mean, he's just going to just kill people. And the other guy that I alluded to when we first started is Rozier. Rozier's that kind of guy too. I mean, like Rozier's really not good. Okay, but if you play against a team, but what I'm saying is against like a team that plays really good defense, I'm not too interested in him. But I think he's going to benefit a great deal from a team that doesn't play any defense. Let's just put it that way. He goes, he just gets it rolling, and sometimes he's out of control. And when you're out of control against a team that plays no defense, it doesn't matter. I mean, so you're just going to keep going. Maybe you disagree with that assessment of Rozier himself, but a guy like Monk, for example, at really low ownership, he doesn't look to be that cheap on the board. But again, I think his 80, 90 percentile outcomes are just good enough, and the probability is good enough that you can take a shot on him.
Yeah, I hear you. I think the price makes it a little bit tricky for me.
Well, for sure.
All the guys, but like, I do like that kind of play in general. I don't think I'm going to end up with as much of them tonight, but I do think you want to be overexposed to this Charlotte side of the ball. Like, you just have to be.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so Toronto against Cleveland. So let's start with the Toronto side. Before I forget, we are gonna get to FanDuel eventually, but FanDuel kind of like took some kind of drugs when they went to sleep and made Serge Ibaka basically free on FanDuel. So we'll leave that for that. But it's actually not the worst play in the world on DraftKings also. But on Toronto, I mean, nobody excites me too much, even though like the matchup is really, really good. Lowry again, I make fun, but it's like every single time, man. 5.2 every single time. So he's 7,500. He's going to project to be just kind of okay, and maybe that's what you do. In other words, every single one of these times he projects to be such a great play, I just kind of laugh and don't play him, and he doesn't really do anything. Maybe on a day like this when he's not projecting to be that smash of a play, this is the time he goes off. Maybe that's the idea with Lowry. So maybe I'll take a shot with him. Aside from that, I'm not going to really play anybody on that side. On Cleveland, is Kevin Porter going to be chalk? That's, I guess, my question I will ask of you. And if so, why do you like him? And
it's because of the lack of value.
I guess so.
Like, I like Porter in general, actually. I think that I sort of have like a weird – I don't know why I end up – maybe I just watch more Cleveland games because I end up with playing weird players against them or for them.
Because we do, yeah, that's exactly.
But like Porter, people are going to jump out and see his numbers the last game. Now, you got to remember Darius Garland didn't play in that game. The minutes were crazy. So I really don't like what they did with the pricing on this Cleveland side of the ball, to be honest. Like, there's only one play, I think, from this side that I might have some exposure to, and I'm debating whether just to scrap it, and that would be Kevin Love or Tristan Thompson, I guess. But I get the Porter thing. I need to feel more secure that he's definitely going to play enough minutes, and even like a 24 where we have him, like that's or where I got questions have him. I'm not like in love with it.
And I even have him at 26, and he's just okay,
If no value opens up, maybe we might have to go there because there's a couple big guys who I like Beal. But that's going to take – I mean, come on, man. There's going to be some value we can find better than this, or there's going to be some that opens up.
What do you think about Lowry?
I like him a lot.
Okay.
I don't think he's a very risky play, and he took 8 shots in the last game and still put up 40. Sure, it was against Atlanta, but he took 8 shots. Like,
how can you only take 8 shots against Atlanta?
He only played 32 minutes too, because they were up by a bunch. It was a blowout. He still put up 40. I don't know what you mean. He's spin smashing, 3 out of 6, 2 out of 3.
Yes.
Another good matchup here. Hasn't been shooting the ball a ton, but still getting there. And he's been doing other things. His steal numbers are up. His rebound numbers are good. So I really like him. I feel like he's a fairly safe play with upside that's not going to garner much ownership. And if he was like 71, I think he would be really high owned. And I just think that's a silly reason. You know what I mean? The sort of how I feel about Siakam. I feel like if he was 79, people would be into him today. And that 500, I'm not sure it makes enough of a difference. I think Siakam is a really, really strong contrarian play. I don't necessarily love this game, but I think that if you want to take a shot on somebody who can get you 50, and be very low owned, and I honestly don't think it's like a big stretch for him to get there. this is not like a particularly tough matchup. So I think he's sort of the play that I would lean towards. And then if he was cheaper, and maybe you can consider him on FanDuel where he is cheaper, I just think with Gasol out, you could see a little bit of a hike for Anunoby, who also in the last game took 3 shots and still put up 24 fantasy points. Maybe more in play on FanDuel, but again, there's a lot of mispricing on FanDuel. So I don't want to play Serge over here on DK. I just think that I'm just not going to go there. I think he'll have enough ownership versus the price hike was enough for me to avoid it. It does worry me a little bit. I think there's upside, but I don't think he's getting like way over 40 here that much. So I'm willing to overlook it a little bit. I think Boucher will get some minutes. So I'm really basically just playing Lowry and Siakam. And I'm open to thinking about some of the Anunoby and Ibaka on FanDuel, but mostly on DraftKings, it's just going to be those two to run with, maybe a tiny bit of Love, Thompson, and Porter, depending on what other value opens up, but not really crazy about that game.
Well, as I was staring at this, as you were kind of going through these things, as I'm kind of just trying to find upside value, upside kind of like weird stuff. I mean, what about Boucher?
Do we need to get that weird on this slate is the question, I think.
Yeah, no?
Maybe because of he's not like he's cheap, though.
Yeah, I mean, he's 4,300 as he's 4,300 in a game that could blow out.
If it was in Toronto, maybe I'd be a little more inclined. I don't think I could do it like maybe it was like a 3-game slate or something, but if he was like 3K, that's different. But 4.3 is not like it's not really saving enough.
Okay, and then again, just to throw out there that Bryant is some people are going to play him at center, so okay, I'll throw it out there.
No, I just think it's like a little bit.
Oh, it's certainly thin, and he could certainly get 9 minutes. I mean,
I'm trying to figure out how he gets significant minutes at all.
Okay, I mean, I just figure with Gasol out that.
Yeah, I think you maybe get him 15 minutes as a max, maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, if that's Matt, well,
I mean, sure, there's a way he could play well and play 20.
Okay. In summary, this game is not all too exciting.
Yeah, it's just, but I do think that the Lowry play is a strong one.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that. All right, so Philly, Atlanta, we're going to have to talk about this because I have ownership issues here because I had 3 guys that I thought all of them were going to be just incredibly chalky here, and only 2 of them are. So I want to talk.
Well, are we sure about that?
No,
I think these guys are going to be fairly chalky.
That's why I'm asking you.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to work out. You know what I mean? Because when I look at, first of all, I'm getting a little bit suspicious of Al Horford. This is the 3rd time we've discussed this, that Horford's missed a game in Atlanta. You know what I mean? Where we're like, oh my God, how he must be really hurt to miss a game at Atlanta. I don't know. Maybe he's scared of going back. I don't know.
I don't think it's scared. I think it's like he has fun. Like he was their guy. I don't know. That's my guess.
So Philly, you tell me, but Simmons, Harrison, and Embiid all look just tremendous in this matchup and all this. And early ownership is indicating to me that Harris is not going to be that owned, which to me seems impossible. So I think all 3 of them are great plays. I think they're all 3 going to be really popular. I don't think you could play 2 of them together for the only reason that you're spending salary on chalky guys. You know what I mean? So it's I think you could play them together, but I think the combination of big salary and chalky guys makes it. I'd rather do something else. But look, if I could sign on for Tobias Harris at 10%, I'm more than happy to try it. I really think all 3 of those guys are very similar. And then I don't really like anybody else from Philly. You could talk to me about the Matisse and the whatevers. But on the Atlanta, I mean, Trae Young's very, very natural run back. I got to tell you, though, I mean, playing against Philly's no joke, and especially with Embiid back, it's if Trae Young gets to be really, really popular, I'm gonna probably be inclined to fade him. Mm-hmm. But on its surface, I mean, if you want to play one of these Philly guys or 2 of them, I think it'd be nice to run it back with Trae Young. It certainly makes a lot of sense. And the other 2 guys, again, nothing really fancy, just Herter or Collins would be the next guys. What do you think?
Yeah, it's weird because I much obviously prefer the Philly side of this. I have it ranked Embiid 1, Simmons 2, just factoring ownership and everything, and Harris 3. But Harris and Simmons about the same. I think Simmons is going to get a crazy amount of ownership, and I'd love the play actually, but I think it's just going to be too much ownership for me to go to. And I actually think that might keep the ownership low on Harris, because if a lot of people are playing Simmons or Embiid, probably about half the field playing one of them.
Yeah.
Was that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So how do you get Harris, and then you play Harris in the same lineup, like with one of them? I mean, you could go, like, again, this is the type of environment where you can go, okay, we can play all 3 of these guys. Like, I know that sounds nuts.
Wow.
I don't think that's the ideal thing to do, but I just want to emphasize how much like hardcore stacking a game can pay off. And anybody who saw the Washington Milwaukee game the other day certainly understands that. You had guys who were with fire. The eighth highest scoring player still had the fire emojis. You know what I mean, on each team. So this is the kind of situation where you're getting a potential ceiling game. Obviously, the Embiid minutes are the only concern that stops him from being the chalk and the best play on the slate, in my opinion. I think otherwise he would be 1,000,000% owned, which makes me just want to be way ahead of the field on him. I'll buy the Kobe narrative too. Again, they were bringing him back first game from an injury. He's had a couple days off now, and he'd been gone for 10 games before. I'm thinking the minutes do creep up a tiny bit. It was a blowout also, or no, it wasn't a blowout. It was just a weird game. I really like Embiid. I don't know. That's where I'm leaning, and just hoping he gets some extra minutes. But even at 28 minutes against Atlanta, it would absolutely not surprise me one bit if he put up 65.
Why are they keeping the minutes low? Is this because of blowout risk or because he's back from an injury?
He just come back from injury, but he played one game.
Yeah, no, I know that. And the other thing to remember is, I mean, this Milwaukee game was just the other day, right? So it's important to remember it. And it's not as though Bledsoe and Middleton were like 3K guys. You know what I mean? They were $6,800 guys, and they put up like enormous points. And the reason why that whole thing worked is because there's a guy on the other side that you could theorize could single-handedly attempt to keep the game close, which was Beal. Mm-hmm. And the structure of this game is very, very similar, if not identical, with the fact that Trae Young is just going to if he has to, he'll shoot the ball every single time down the court to keep the teams close. So even if you're spending a little bit of – I don't know if you could – boy, doing all 3 of them seems like asking for it, but you could do 2 of them and you could still get ceilings out of it without the game. You know what I mean? As long as Trae kind of just keeps it going, you know?
Yeah, I'm not suggesting you do. I'm saying I want to point out that it's viable.
Okay.
In this kind of a matchup, which is what I was saying. And then the other thing, just real quick, like these other guys, it is a really like ideal spot for Thibault.
Okay.
But so if there's no value, I actually think I'm going to take some shots there. And I actually don't mind if you're not going to go that route. I think there's potentially upside for Shake Milton. Now,
I was going to say shake. Yep.
Yeah. Why not like take a little shot on this guy? I feel like these other guys in these games tend to produce just by being on the court, and these guys should definitely benefit from that. And then I like I didn't mention the Atlanta side. I do like Trae and I do like Herter. I don't find myself playing a ton of other guys, although I don't mind John Collins. I just don't feel like, maybe we should consider a little bit of Cam Reddish at how many minutes he's going to play at his price, but even Hunter, like I just don't feel like I really want to go there. Philly's still a great defensive team. So for me, it's mostly Trae Young just because the usage has been just out of control.
What about MVP from the last game? Did you see Raul Neto play his last game? He was the man.
He's not even on the – I don't even have him as projected in the game. That's crazy.
I don't know. He was nuts. He went bananas in the last game. Yeah, I have him in at 14 minutes at 41.
You have there is one other guy who I really like in this game. Okay, hold your whatever.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Let's play Damian Jones.
Oh, back to that. Oh, I like it.
I played him in the big one and got a little bit of grief for it the other day, the 555 on FanDuel. And I was the only player in the tournament without it. He was 0.1% owned. And what was weird is that he put up 15 fantasy points, which is not what we want. But think about this, but still, obviously, he played 22 minutes. He's 3,600 now. And you have a guy who can who there is without question upside on these minutes. Now, John Collins can get in foul trouble. DeAndre Hunter can absolutely not guard Joel Embiid, and neither can Collins. I actually think Damian Jones has minutes upside here. So I'm going to take some shots on him. I just think, like, if I can get an unowned guy who can put up just by – like, what if he plays 26 minutes or 28 minutes?
Well, I would just caution you this way because I played him and we were right on it. And back in this Phoenix game
But
where
he put up 22. I'll take 22.
he was fine. You know what I mean? It was, you know, he got 27 minutes. I don't want to say he stinks in like the wrong way, but he was fine. And one of the reasons we played him is because, you know, it was against Phoenix and whatever. But I don't know.
He won a couple slates early in the year.
Okay. All right.
I'm just throwing it out there. Like 25 from him would be awesome with the lack of value. 20 from him would be totally acceptable.
Yeah.
If a guy plays 20 plus minutes, I'm going to be willing to take a shot at him at 3.6K if there's no value. I mean, like, honestly, I could actually make an argument for playing T, to be honest with you. But I don't think I'm going to go that far. But that is the other weird, like, guy you can play in this game that's extreme value on.
You like Damian Jones more than Deadman?
So when you factor in the ownership, I do.
Yeah, he'll be owned as Deadman, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and what's weird is they have basically the same minutes projection. So right. I'll take a 0% guy versus a 35% guy or whatever the hell he's going to be.
That's really important.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done with that game?
Yep.
All right, so here's the deal with the Golden State game. So the Golden State Boston game. So first of all, Tatum is in, which honestly for me, I'm kind of glad he's in. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to choose between good Celtic chalk and good Sixer chalk and whatever it is. So what it also might allow me to do, and it, you know, obviously hurts a little bit, but it'll allow me to get Kemba Walker maybe not at like 40%, which would probably be if Tatum was playing. So I'm probably going to play Kemba, and I don't think I'm going to play anybody else in the Celtics. And one of the reasons I'm playing Kemba also is with Beal going to be really popular. I probably have to play some of him and Graham and Trae Young, all this. I kind of want to get some low guys. I'm probably going to do something with Kemba and Russell. I think that Russell is literally the only guy on Golden State that has a chance of keeping this game close, and it's a really, really tough environment, obviously. But I'm probably going to eat, you know, the projection problems with Russell and the price problems. Probably do something where I play Kemba on Boston, which I think is a tremendous play, and kind of a speculative Russell play. So that's really the only two things I'm going to probably do. But I would be remiss to not point out that yet another chalky center could emerge, and that be Marquise Chris at 4,500, assuming that he gets the same minutes that he got when he screwed you out of whatever he screwed you out of the other day when you went to Spellman. So I'll let you talk about Chris, and that's really all I had for this game.
Yeah, I'm again, if no value opens up, I'm fine with having maybe 15% Chris in my lineups.
Okay.
But I don't want to be much higher than that. I actually think that I would probably, if no value opens up, be just as inclined to maybe take that shot on Amari Spellman again. The minutes can fluctuate, you know, with this team. There's blowout possibility. There's a lot of ways lineups they could run out there. No matter what, Spellman should be between 18 and 22, I would say. So maybe he gets up to the 26 that we've got Chris projected at. This game worries me because I feel like there's pieces that I'm interested in. Like I think D'Angelo Russell is really a sharp call. Like if you look at his game log, like he's just lighting everyone up. The only game that he didn't was a 35-point loss blowout. Now I think this game is a strong candidate to be that way. I actually think this is I think Boston is going to absolutely wax them. And I know people say you play tournaments, you don't predict blowouts. Yes, you do. You try and predict
it. Yep.
I would rather take that angle and that approach because I like some of the other spots for Philly in the Philly and Washington game. And I can't play everybody. I'm not going to sit here and recommend everybody. If you did play guys in this game, I think you're looking at the obvious suspects, but who I'll dabble with. I'll dabble with some Draymond, and I'll dabble with some D'Angelo Russell. If I have a lineup that's too chalky, maybe I'll go to D'Angelo Russell in some spots. I'll have a little bit of Chris, but I'll have less than the field. I'll have more of Spellman in the field. On the Boston side, I really don't have a ton of interest in anyone except for Kemba. and I don't even feel great about Kemba. I actually am a little confused by his projections. It weirds me out a little bit, to be honest with you. I don't quite understand why they are.
The minutes part or the points per minute part. I mean,
I think the minutes are too high. That's one thing
okay.
I would say.
Okay.
But I think that they're reasonable. 34 is reasonable.
Okay.
But I also think that his owner, like the fact that like people love him so much and the points that they're expecting. I love Kemba, like, and he's a guy who I would love as a tournament play here. You know, you could say he shot 5 for 19 in the last game and still put up 35 and all that. Tatum, you know, wasn't there obviously the game before with, you know, we put up 54 and 60. I think it's more risky of a play than everybody thinks it is. Let's put it that way. And if he gets really hot, unless D'Angelo Russell gets like crazy hot or something, this game is just over quick.
Well, I think the idea that at least I'm going to employ is that I'm going to only play Kemba if I play Russell.
I agree with that, but I also think you should consider playing Draymond and Russell together.
Well, so that's the thing I was going to bring up now. Like for those of you that don't quite understand what we talk about guys like Draymond Green, who just always, not always, like he doesn't project all that well too often. Like the other day, I didn't play him. I know you might have mentioned him maybe once or twice in the preview. I didn't play him. I wasn't even paying attention to what was going on in the game. I was watching the game for something else. And then at the end, I saw that he just totally freaking smashed without even realizing. He had 46 freaking fantasy points. And if you look at his
stat, rebound away from a triple double.
Right. See, that's the thing. If you look at his stat line, this is the Draymond Green stat line when he gets like he gets no points and he gets 50 anyway, you know, and that's why guys like this are really, really just, I guess the word I'm looking for is like elite tournament plays, like every single day, you know, especially when they're not chalk. And he's been chalk recently and you know, hasn't really performed. And you'd like to think the DFS gods are responsible for that. You know what I mean? But guys like this, they just rack up these games from time to time. And sometimes you don't even realize. I'm watching the game. I didn't even realize what he was doing. I was watching Russell. I was watching Embiid. I was watching all these other guys try to rack it up. And at the end of the game, I look at my phone. I look at box score. I'm like, really? Draymond had 46 fantasy points? So I'm with you, man. Like if you're going to play, I think that's not a bad idea. Is to go Russell with Green, and then just hope, you know, just hope that they.
He also has looked really much more competitive. A game in Boston is going to get him going a little bit more. I'm also going to play the Since Kobe card with him. I mean, as much as Westbrook always is a lunatic all over the court, he was especially, and who knows, he had a lot going on with Lillard anyway. Going on last night, Lillard was out of control. But Westbrook, what's crazy is Westbrook played great. Like,
oh yeah,
Harden was terrible. But Westbrook, I just think these guys like who the superstars are going to try and show up, and I just think that, you know, relying on Harden like that feels bad. That's why I went to Harden everywhere, unfortunately. But anyway, we'll stick with this one. I do think that I'll see where I end up on Kemba. In the end, I think that I would prefer taking the lower own, and I feel like safer play with Kyle Lowry
than
Kemba.
And
he's cheaper too.
Yeah, they're similar with the respect of the 10-point spread.
And one gives twice the ownership of the other at least.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it's a 13-point spread. It's not a 10-point spread.
One's 13, one's 10.
Right? Oh, right. But I would rather take the team that's at home by 13 versus the team on the road. In the NBA, and it's a problem. It's cost me lately, no question. It's hard to predict when Phoenix is going to win in Dallas by 35. I almost, for home teams, I just always assume they keep it close because that's that era I grew up with. And it's probably a little bit of a leak in my game because it's a really different game these days. And some teams I cannot believe how many no-shows I've seen from teams at home. It just didn't used to be like that as much.
I'll tell you something else, by the way. Well, you could say that a lot of that has to do with more efficient travel on behalf of the team traveling on the road and stuff like that. Yeah. But one thing again, I don't know how much this matters, but when stuff happens like that Sacramento game the other day, when was it Sacramento that came from like 100 back in the last 3 minutes, something like that. When that stuff happens, it kind of permeates throughout the league, and teams don't just kind of just lock it down so quickly in the fourth quarter after they see something like that happening. So like I can imagine like starters being on the court a little longer. You know what I mean? And for both teams, even if it's like a 17, 18-point game going into the last 6-7 minutes or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I got you.
I like it. I like it. This could end up being a game that definitely I play, and I'm just pissed off at halftime. So it's very possible. All right, moving on to Sacramento LAC. And I think that the projections people or the algorithm people fell asleep at the wheel again. On the other side, I can't play a soul on the Clippers in this game. I don't like literally anybody. Kawhi's like $8 million. I don't know if Beverly's playing. I guess he's playing, but I guess if I had to pick one, it would be him. But I honestly wasn't going to take anybody from the Clippers. On Sacramento, the two guys that I'm interested in, well, actually three. One, I'll go right back to De'Aaron Fox again. He'd be my best choice on Sacramento side. But he looks to be really popular. I don't need that. You know what I mean? I'd rather – and that's why I want to try guys like Russell, if he's going to be lower owned.
I just want to make this really clear. I mean, there's no way I will be playing De'Aaron Fox tonight.
Okay.
I just don't see, why are we even going to assume this will be the second of a back-to-back after getting smoked last night, in LA with the Clippers being healthy minus Paul George, ugh.
Sounds good to me. I don't want to play him either.
I just, now here's the caveat. If he ends up 5% owned and these early projections are way off, then you take some shots. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other guy on Sacramento we have to talk about is Deadman at 3,700. Fine by me. I mean, I'll try a little bit of him, but it depends on his ownership. If he ends up being the chalk, no problem fading him also, so it's going to be this is unfortunately going to be very similar to last night between Deadman, Chris, Bryant, guys like that. Do you play them? Do you fade them? I guess a lot of it is ownership driven, but these are the idiots that are in play tonight. This is for at least for now where the value seems to lie. So he's definitely in play. I just have to see where ownership goes. There's certainly ways that he could get, that he could bust here.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, though, I just have this weird feeling he's just going to play his 20, 24 minutes, though. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's guarantees that he gets there either. I don't know. The whole game's very unappealing to me. The last Sacramento
game, I'll tell you one thing. It's not a game where they need him. I'm not saying he won't play, but it's not a game where they need him to play at all.
The last Sacramento piece again. If this price hasn't gone up on FanDuel somehow, listen. I literally don't understand why Bogdan was not owned yesterday anywhere. Forget
I owned him.
DraftKings, whatever. But FanDuel, you remember we went over this stuff even on FanDuel. I'm like, listen, I'm gonna have to eat the chalk somewhere. It may as well be the 50% Bogdan. And even the ownership projections when they were projecting him at 45% on FanDuel. I just don't know what happened. It's not like anything else opened up that to be that big of a deal.
I told you what would happen. Harden became crazy popular.
Okay. And he takes up one of those spots.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was actually shocked how many people at the high limits played Westbrook. I was impressed, actually. I mean,
yeah.
I just was like, wow, after the news, to have 20+% Westbrook. I think he was 10% in the other ones, but he was 20+% in the big ones.
So, a question that's kind of permeating, I think, through experts in the industry, I suppose, is this going to be the Harden is washed narrative or the boy Harden's going to win someone $1 million at 2% narrative?
No, Harden's gonna. I mean, look, there's not. I mean, he'll just. It's an awful streak. He's been. I think if what they should have, they have the most player of the month, player of the week. He should be the least valuable player of the month.
Right.
Nobody has done worse with you couldn't play worse than he's played. I mean, really, I don't care if he hit a three that was cool. That was one of the 17 shots that he made. The one that he made. Anyway, just getting back to this game, I'm definitely inclined to be below the field if Deadman's going to be popular, but we need value, so I'll probably not X him out. And again, if we don't think if other value opens up and everyone jumps away from him, then I'm more likely to jump back on. I want to play well above the field on Bogdanovich, no matter what that is. And I actually think people will play him tonight. They even didn't have to play that many minutes last night because they got blown out, but played great. He was the only bright spot for Sacramento. So I like him. I'm just going to point out that Deadman, we could we don't need to think that he has to play like, okay, so against OKC, at least they have like somewhat of a traditional center. Like even Harrell is not really a traditional center. He's really like a 4. They could play Giles. They could play other guys. And nobody else I want to play. But I just don't think that Dedmon is this lock to play a bunch of minutes. But I do think there's upside for him on these minutes as well as downside. So I like him as a tournament play, but not as a cash game play, which is basically what he's become.
You know, Marquise Chris, by the way, I forgot about this, is forward eligible. I mean,
he's going to be very popular, and I'm fine.
He has to be, right? He has to be. He makes so much in this fly.
Especially because there's not enough value out there.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing that I'm figuring out by fiddling around with this stuff is Beal is going to be difficult to get.
That's why he's going to have lower ownership than he should.
Yep. Yeah. Yep.
I still think, I mean, there's a long ways till tonight. Some teams are on back-to-backs. Let's
Yep. All right. So last game, Utah, Denver. And let me ask you, is there a more hated person in the United States than Mike Conley right now? I mean, like everybody hates poor Mike Conley. What do they? I mean, he played the minutes, right? I mean, like, he played the minutes. That's why people played him, right? They said, he might not be any good, but he's going to play the minutes. He only played 21, dude. It seemed like he was on the court for 30 minutes. It seemed like he was on the court. He seemed like he was on the court for 30 minutes doing nothing. You know what I mean?
I swear, I didn't feel like he was on the court at all, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, because I saw him, okay, he's there. He's going to do something eventually. Then he throws up a brick, and I'm like, oh, man. And he gets in the line. I just knew he had just no hope of making the free throw. The first one, they end up making some others. He just stinks. So in reward for stinking, he priced him up to 4,200. And of course, you know what's going to happen, right? That he's going to win everybody all the money tonight.
Yeah.
So let's talk for a second. On the Utah side, the 3 guys, the usual guys, man. Gobert, Mitchell, sort of. Bojan, sort of. Bojan just never does anything for me. So if you want to play Gobert as a really, I guess he's going to be just frightfully much lower owned, especially with Embiid on the slate.
Yeah. And they should lower his price to a reasonable amount now. Like he's not 9.3 anymore. Like he's 8,100. Yeah,
both of the centers from this game, by the way, I have interest in. And the other guy in Utah, maybe I'm not wrong, man. Maybe there's no way Conley does this, right? That'd be just such a ridiculous troll. That'd be so amazing.
You want to get the clever part on Conley because he's still going to have some ownership with the lack of value if this.
Oh, okay, forget it.
But the clever thing to do is to play some Mitchell, Ingles, and Jordan Clarkson.
Ooh.
Because there is a chance that they would sit Conley on the back-to-back.
Yes.
Or at least really limit him. So on Draftkings, especially, I think that's a chance that you should be taking on a slate like this.
And I'll tell you the other thing, by the way, is sometimes, like, it goes back to my coaching, whatever. If there's a guy who has been he plays like terrible. He was just awful. He's a guy who's usually really good, and I'm hoping he's better, but he just stinks. Sometimes I'll say the next, hey, dude, listen, I need you rested. I'm not going to play you that much. You know what I mean? Because I need you rested. Really what I'm saying to myself is he stinks. I don't want him on the court. So maybe they'll say, hey, Conley, listen, you're a really valuable part of our franchise. We can't risk you getting hurt. That's why we're sitting, as opposed to the reality, which we just can't have you on the court for any minutes for any reason. So, yeah, I can definitely see that happening. I can also –
like Jordan Clarkson has been playing better for the most part, or played better at least yesterday than he did. So, like these minutes can go – like Clarkson can get you there anyway. So can Mitchell. So can Ingles. And then if you get the late Conley news, like – boom, they're all.
That's tremendous. Like I didn't realize Clarkson was only 4,100.
I think you play one. Like I actually might set a rule for one Jazz just for this reason because I think they're all good enough plays on their own. I'm not wouldn't want to target this as a huge game thing, but I would be willing to what if there is no Conley? I do think it opens it up at these prices. I mean, all the prices are down because it's been more spread out a little bit. And Donovan Mitchell is way too cheap. Like, I don't understand this.
Donovan Mitchell?
Sometimes, but I like Donovan Mitchell a ton tonight.
Let me ask you this. I am jumping ahead. I'm jumping ahead, but you whetted my appetite with this. Oh God. Yep. So I'll save it for FanDuel, but you want to really just kill people. You'll go before lock with no news and play Clarkson at 3,800 on FanDuel.
By the way, I don't think that I think some people will do that, not just because of the speculation, but like he's been getting shots up anyway. So
Right. That's true.
He's not a bad play as it is. So that's what I love about these guys. This is the spot you can, and maybe you can hope for something. And also, by the way, who else knows what other late news you might get some late Clipper. You never know what else might happen. So playing, some of these late guys, it's not like you need to pivot off of them either. But playing at least one Jazz player in all lineups might be an interesting route to go.
So Denver, I like Jokic. I like Jokic a lot actually. It's kind of hard for me to play him over Embiid. That's the problem. We'll see.
Might be a better play than Embiid. They're close, I think.
You think so?
I like Embiid a ton, but I like Jokic a lot too. Partly, just factoring in the ownership too. I guess the ownership it's not going to be crazy on Embiid either. They're probably going to be similar, actually.
Oh, you don't think so? I thought Embiid would be really popular.
I mean, just look at what Jokic has been doing. It's kind of hard to ignore. The usage is out of control with all these guys gone. But and
the other Denver guy is Barton. Those are my two.
Yeah, Barton, and the same thing for me. And to me, it's mild interest at best. Let me rephrase that. I'm okay with the Barton play. I'm not in love with it. I don't love the ownership gate, basically. I think that he keeps becoming chalk because he's too cheap and all these things and all that. But he's literally not had a game that we would even accept in his last 5 in the same situation. And it's weird. I don't know why, but he's just not been doing anything. But that's going to break out at some point. The guy would like to be getting a tournament ownership instead of cash game ownership.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as the slate goes, you can go over your initial ownerships, but it's another day of crappy value, and I think crappy value, and I think that we should learn from these slates and not be afraid to just fade some of these really chalky guys just almost in their entirety at some point. And just hope you're right on it, and the thing that's going to be difficult means profitable, I guess, is as I try to go through this on my own, guys like Beal at 9,400 are going to be tough to get without making a lot of concessions, and guys like Embiid at 9,100 and Jokic at 10,000 are going to be tough to get without making concessions.
Yeah,
and which means that they're going to be low owned. So if you could figure out a way to do it, that's why I think it makes sense. Like you were going all the way back to the beginning of this show was to play Beal and just get some Charlotte guys right, on the other side. Right. And I think that's the way to do it. You know what I mean? And maybe you get a big ceiling game out of some PJ Washington, you know what I mean? Or some, one of those guys, or Fade Graham, or Fade Graham would be the most popular and go with Rozier or something like that.
Yeah, it's just that the ownership on none of them are going to be as high as they should be. That's the truth in that game. Okay. So I'm just going to really quickly because I've got to run in a second. But to go through my ownerships, my number one play is Bradley Beal. I'm just going to keep riding this. Right behind him, I have Miles Bridges, Joel Embiid, and Bogdan Bogdanovic in a similar range. And then I've got Bryant and Mitchell together in one range. Then I've got all of one big range, which I'm going to have to figure out. Lowry, Devontae Graham, Joe Ingles, Gobert, Tobias Harris, PJ Washington, Ben Simmons, and Trae Young. And I'm just going to have to be deciding between those guys. Sheets, say something real quick, and then we're going to back.
Okay, for me, real quick, my 3 attacks are going to be stack the crap out of the Charlotte game, stack the crap out of the Golden State-Boston game, and lose, and do some kind of mini stack with this Atlanta game. Those are my 3 builds, probably.
All right, sounds good. Well, for Sheets, I'm BobbyFi. Good luck. We'll see you at the top of the leaderboards, guys.